Wow.
All right, John, are we ready to talk about this?
Yeah, I think we're ready.
Are we ready to get into the survival guide of The Thing 101? And yes, this
Wow.
is a Google slide stock presentation, but it was Arctic adjacent, so we did what we could.
Yeah, it looks good.
Um,
I like it.
okay, let's get into it. Let's talk about The Thing here. So before we kick anything off, John, had you seen The Thing before?
I had. This is my second viewing.
Okay, and when was the first time? How long had it been?
It'd been about a year.
Okay, so recent then.
Yeah, yeah. My first, because I never liked body horror. You have to remember. Remember, I'm a big. I never saw The
Sure.
Substance, so like this was a long time to get to this one for me.
And this is like the body horror, so that absolutely makes sense.
It is. Yep.
Well, let's kick things off here. First of all, little table of contents. We're going to go over the purpose. We'll go over some general stats about the movie, its legacy, and then we're going to go into the actual case study itself. We'll see some assumptions, what we know, the survival tactics themselves, and then we're going to wrap up with some just general movie chat, what we think about it before saying our final thoughts on what this movie means to us. First of all, the purpose of this presentation. I know I'm a human, and if you were all these things and you just attack me right now, so some of you are still human. Um, you never know if you're going to find yourself in an Arctic, buried in situation where you and maybe a handful of survivors are trying to fight off the thing. So really, what the purpose of this guide is to A, survive yourself. That is a very pivotal part of this. You cannot be attached to anybody. But B, if you can, you do want to save people, if not for their sake, then for your own, because there's strength in numbers, and we're going to talk about that as we move ahead.
Great. Sign me up. I'm ready.
And also, John, I would just love to say, if you do have any questions, feel free to interject. I really want to make sure I'm using your time wisely here.
Yeah, you don't want me to
Um,
save them to the end. You want me to kind of? This should be a collaborative session.
this is meant to be, as much as it's informative, there's going to be a lot of discovery along the way. By the way, this is my full work voice that I use. This is the solution engineer voice I use.
Yeah,
Okay, stats and legacy. This is normally your slide, John. So
I know.
I know you're, green with envy right now. But obviously directed by the great John Carpenter, released in 1982. Interestingly, in the summertime, which feels a little odd. It famously was panned at the time. Some people were into it, but it only made $5 million off of a $15 million budget, and really just was overlooked. And of course, since then, it's made its money back. 10 times over. I'm sure more than that from DVD sales, DVD or paid video on demand, all those sorts of things. I tried to look this up. There's really no information that you can find on it, though. But I mean, I don't know. I can't even begin to guess these things. I just think it's really interesting. Like, gun to your head, if you had to guess what a movie like this that's become so influential has made in the past 40 plus years, like what would you even guess at?
Oh, see, I don't know because I don't know like how that works after it's out of theaters. I mean, and then there's so many layers to when it's in theaters, right? I think you'd explained that to me one time of like how like the box office doesn't actually mean like profits for the movie, like how
Mm-hmm.
much they get over like DVD sales or like having it licensed to Amazon to stream or like when a Blu-ray or a 4K comes out. Like I have no idea how you would even go about calculating that.
All the merchandise that this has been
Sure.
attached to, any sort of crossover stuff it's been in. But
But who
clearly,
get Oh, sorry, but who gets that, right? Like, is that the studio? Like Carpenter is not. Is Carpenter getting a cut of merchandise? This is where I have like no idea how
at
it
this,
works.
well, it's a great question, and the answer is it really depends on how the contract is set up, and usually that depends on how powerful the director is coming into it, as well as like if they created it or not. So in this instance, I don't know if Carpenter might have gotten points, but generally speaking, the studio retains full ownership of the IP or the product, unless
Mhm.
they sell it down the road, sort of thing. So like that's why like Sinners was a very notable movie earlier this year, because it was extremely an outlier, that the director on that, who I'm spacing on his name,
Kugler,
Coogler, is going to retain rights to that film, I believe, in 20 years or something. So like
right?
that's super strange.
I heard that. Yeah.
Um, but anywho, since then, the movie has obviously become like garnered cult status. It's extremely influential. Letterboxd, it is a 4.4 rating. It's 101 out of the top 250, which is incredible. And it has over 1.5 million views.
Incredible.
And then it's also gone on, like I mentioned, to have a huge influence. This is just a cherry picked handful of directors that have openly talked about it, but super, super impactful. So when you think of The Hateful Eight, Tarantino has openly said that it was hugely influenced by this movie. When you think of a group of, survivors, men and women, actually primarily men, in a snowed-in cabin trying to identify who's the traitor, who isn't.
Right.
Reservoir Dogs, he also mentions. The Stranger Things directors, the Duffy brothers, their synthy score is super influenced by this. Guillermo del Toro has talked about it. In fact, del Toro has a quote where he said he once was speaking to Carpenter. He said, "I told John Carpenter how much all generations love The Thing." And Carpenter's response was, "What fucking good does that do me?" Which I think says a lot about the type of guy that Carpenter is.
Oh, he's the man. Yeah, he's
But
the man.
anywho, yeah, so hugely important movie. I don't know if before I go forward, anything else you want to add on here that I maybe didn't mention?
Well, no, I mean the bomb at the box office is notable. The only thing I know about it is like, didn't it come out like either a week before or after E.T.?
It
So
did.
it's like the nice alien movie and the mean alien movie, and like and I guess in 1982 people wanted the nice one. Yeah, so I don't know.
Here's my hot take. I don't know what the case was in the 70s, but I think E.T. is like a profoundly disturbing looking creature too. So like it kind of weirds me out. I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid, and I think I only saw parts of it, but it's not like it's like Grogu, right? Like they hadn't even, in the way that McDonald's has like hyper processed what food is to make us like all love it. It's like hyper palatable, Like we've done the same thing with cute stuff. It's so much cuter. Like the horror is horrorier. Yeah. The cuter is cuter. E.T. is not that cute, is my point.
So I thought your hot take was that E.T. is scarier than The Thing.
I don't know if I'd go that far. Maybe.
Well, that scene at the end of E.T. when he's like in that medical tent, like that is straight out of a horror movie.
It's a little upsetting to look at, but yeah. Okay, let's stay on our preferred alien today. Thank you very much. Okay, we have some assumptions we want to start with here. So, in the scenario that we're talking about today, it's very similar to what's in the movie. An infection has occurred at a United States National Science Institute station in Antarctica. There's been a dog thing there for over 24 hours, and a crew has just been identified as a crew thing. Mid-transformation, he was stopped. So essentially, we're in the same scenario where Bennings was killed. You have notes on from the previously destroyed camp that details all of the information that's included in the 1982 film. However you get that, I'll let you imagine. It only has the traits of what's shown in the 1982 film. We will not be talking about I believe it's 2011 remake. And the blood test is accurate.
Wow.
Before I go on, John, you watched the 2011 remake,
I did,
right?
Yes, it's actually it's a prequel.
It's a prequel.
Which is good. I think to try to remake this is tough, but it ends up being very much like a remake where it's like a lot of the same moves, just with CGI instead of practical. So It's actually like the story is what happens at that like Norwegian camp or whatever it is.
And, so are they playing Norwegians, but they just speak English?
Yeah. There's some Norwegians too, though. No, it's both. It's like Norwegians. There's like one guy in the crew who doesn't speak English, and like it's kind of like that becomes like his thing. But yeah, it's like Norwegian actors. Actually, that guy from like Game of Thrones is in it with the red hair, like the big red hair. I don't remember his name. You'd recognize him though.
Okay.
But yeah, prequel.
Well, we'll talk about that more in the miscellaneous section at the end.
Okay, well, so wait, so based off these assumptions, so I have to survive now? Like now now I have to play this game?
Well, it's sort of the question of the day, because like I said at the top, the more you can save, the better in a moral sense. But even if not in a moral sense, in an just a game theory sense, the more people you can save, the safer you are in a way, right? Because you can work together. So, if you chose to go the solo route, if you went total Blair mode and tried to destroy the place or lock yourself up, that's on the table as well.
Okay, wow. Okay,
These are just my recommendations. So I also want to point out, we're going to go over, I would say this document is more centered on actually identifying information that we might gloss over as viewers, because there's some stuff that's very clear, right? Like we're going to talk about the blood test, of course. It's a great tool. But I think there's a lot of knowledge that gets glanced over that we could understand the thing from and maybe come up with some strategies to tackle from there. So
gotcha.
I would also want to hear your point of view on how you would use this information.
But we're not about to play it like a game like Pandemic. This is like a Ned's Declassified kind of thing, but it's for surviving the thing.
Yes, exactly.
Got it. Okay. All right.
Wow, what a deep cut back to Nickelodeon. What we know. So we have a lot of strengths. Obviously, the perfect imitation of it. So it can completely replicate any living organism, including down to the cellular level. So this is true for dogs immediately. This is true for humans immediately. It's not from this planet. It can still do this instantly. It also includes memories, behaviors, mannerisms, so on. Cellular autonomy. So every cell of the thing is alive and acts independently.
Hmm.
This means that killing a part of it doesn't necessarily kill the whole, and each fragment can attack or assimilate separately. It's also extremely durable. Intelligence is a really big one here too. So, first of all, it's strategic. It'll wait until the right moment. Generally, with an asterisk on that, we're going to touch on in a little bit here, but it will wait until the right moment and when people are alone. It's capable of hiding. It can feign confusion. It creates moments of chaos on purpose. It purposefully does things, or at least we can presume, such as when McCready's jacket is all torn up, but he was never actually, at least until possibly the end, converted, right? So it's
Right.
doing some sorts of sabotage and manipulation, which ultimately goes down to the point of paranoia there. And it understands how to create havoc within the group. And then I skipped over it briefly, but also the innate intelligence. So on a cellular level, it's capable of remembering or knowing how to do certain things. So not just like what it learns from humans, but also it starts building a spaceship, right? So we don't know if that would work necessarily, but at the very least, this thing innately knows how to weld, how to work with electronics, how to do all sorts of things. So hyper
Yeah.
intelligent in a lot of ways. Is there anything
Well,
I'm missing on here that you think is key, John?
key strength. No, but I do think the fact that he built that whole spaceship and like underground bunker in like a day or so is pretty impressive.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
But now we have to touch on weaknesses.
Oh, yeah.
And so some of these, so we start with the obvious one, extremely vulnerable to fire. And it's not just vulnerable, it's extremely. I mean, a lot of the shots that we see of when they do use the blow torches on it, you know, if you were to, in theory, throw a log, anyone that's made a fire in the woods before knows you just put a log on a fire, the outside is going to burn for a second, but all the way to the core would be completely fine. This is not the case for the thing. They
Right.
blast this thing with a flamethrower. It is, it's bigger than a dog around, completely torched through, instantly dead. So very, very weak to it. It goes inactive in the cold is another big one. And so it's shown as a strength in the movie because it essentially means that it can, for the thing, a stalemate is actually a victory, alluding to the chess metaphor earlier in the movie. But it is also a weakness because presumably this thing has been in the ice for over 100,000 years and it's never been able to thaw itself. It requires some sort of outside factor for it to continue living and be active.
Mm.
It requires organic matter to feed and grow. It's never expressly said within the movie, but going back to the fact that it is intelligent, it has really no way to be identified until it shows itself. Why wouldn't it just wait around and eat motor oil or, convert bed sheets and steel? So presumably it needs organic matter to feed and grow, which is a bit of a time sensitivity piece, or at the least, if it wants to grow and become a real threat, it needs that. And then I think really the last two are the most critical here, which is that it's selfish. It's very interesting here that as much as we only identify with the monster once it has, replicated a human being, but we view it as obviously very monstrous.
Hmm.
Even when it's not in its human form, it actually operates in a very similar capacity to how humans do. So, for instance, with the way that the blood test even works is that these cells operate in a selfish fashion. They're willing to betray the greater host if it means that they will try to save themselves. Um,
Hmm.
Perhaps larger than that, it's intelligent, but how intelligent is it, or is it just impatient? Again, when it's the dog, we can understand from the movie, there's a couple ways that it shows that it can assimilate. So it can absorb into things like it does with the dogs in the kennel, or Bennings when it's getting wrapped up in him.
Hmm.
It can infect things, although we don't really understand how it does it yet. Norris has that heart attack, but presumably he was dying of infection before that happened. So maybe he ate something when he shouldn't have, but we don't know. And then the last one is through a bite. So Windows at the end gets his head bitten off and immediately starts transforming.
Right.
But a notable thing there is even the bite is not 100%. So in a weird way, it's like as much as we have data, on different things that it can do. We've also seen instances where it doesn't do it 100% of the time, which sort of presents the idea that nothing we see is 100% true. Just want to
Yeah.
call that out.
Which is
Anywho,
which is huge strength too. It's like a total like wild card of what its abilities can be at some point, you know?
for sure. Well, it's a strength, but it's also maybe a weakness because it tells us that you could be bitten by something. Not every power it shows is 100%
Yeah.
lethal, I guess is what I mean.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Um, and then I'll end this section by just saying there's also a lot we don't know. So, for instance, like I said with the impatient piece, why didn't the dog thing at the beginning of the movie infect Clark, right? Like they were alone together. They spent a lot of time together. Why wouldn't he just stay as a dog for the entire movie and slowly infect everybody's food? If he was able to infect a couple of them, why couldn't he infect all of them? So there's things we don't know.
I like the selfish one, especially because I hadn't really thought about that. Like the blood test. Like, yeah, I guess like when it becomes blood, then it's on its own. So like each thing is like then also operating on its own and trying to protect itself, even if it means it's risking the life of like its main piece. You know, like, that's a weird thing
Yes.
to think about. I hadn't thought
Well,
about that.
it's because it doesn't even view it as a main piece. It's so
Mhm.
decentralized. So if you cut off an arm, it's not like the arm is like, I'm trying to get back to my body. The arm is like, I want to survive and grow.
Oh
It
yeah,
doesn't identify in any sort of way.
interesting.
So, some survival tactics here. And we'll go through these pretty quickly. Again, some of them are touched on in the movie. You got to assert dominance.
Yeah,
Things are going to go to shit if you don't have a leader of the group. Um, Anytime McCready is locked in, things are going good.
yeah.
Once they lose McCready, things fall apart instantly. So if you're going to do that, anyone who's innocent will agree with you is the mindset. Anyone who won't fall in line might as well be a human thing already, or is just going to be human thing food down the road. So don't be afraid to torch them. Um, test, and test again. Just why don't we just constantly be blood testing? This
I
seems like
agree.
a no-brainer to me. I will say I think it's Knowles. I want to say it's Knowles that cuts his thumb to do the blood test, and seemingly he just shoves the knife like halfway through his thumb, and
Yeah,
it's like who would? It's like the most grisly cut he puts into his thumb
he's like,
for like one drop of blood. It's like also why would you start with your most important part of your entire body? Like why wouldn't you do like your arm or anything? Anywho, move in pairs. This is another crazy part of the movie to me. One, and I didn't put this in the weaknesses section, but even though it's very durable and like presumably pretty tough, like it rips apart windows pretty quickly,
oh yeah,
it doesn't seem that tough, or at least it takes a while to ingest people. So like when we see, I think it's Bennett, uh, or the one who gets caught halfway through transforming early in the film.
right.
The guy runs
The
in.
ginger guy who's
Yes,
like
yes.
outside. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you see his blood in one scene. The guy, Windows runs out. They come back and he's not there anymore. Clearly, it takes a while to do that transformation. And so, if you at least have one other person with you, you can kind of ring the alarm there.
Right.
As for breaking rules, first offense, we're just going to run another blood test. It is what it is. For second offense, it's a torch. We're burning you up instantly. No hesitation on there. And these are really the key pieces you want to keep in mind. But going over what we talked about, especially with the selfish component, anything that you would add to this, John?
No, but let me see if I understand. So you find out that you have a thing in your camp.
Mm-hmm.
Your guide is number one, like you need a leader right away. Someone's
Yes.
got to step up and run the show. Number two, we're testing nonstop. It's like COVID, like testing, like on set kind of thing. Where like
We're also all sleeping in the same room. Like we're
sleeping the
not,
same.
no one's moving.
Yeah, and no one's moving on their own. Everyone's paired up, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's not even worth the risk. You break any rules, you get another blood test. You break another rule, you're just getting torched.
Yeah, instantly.
Wow, no, that's right.
I think that if you got really clever with it, potentially you could use maybe some of like, you could almost stage situations. Like if there were people that, you knew half the people were okay, but maybe you almost intentionally don't test a couple people to like create scenarios where the thing thinks that you don't know that it's a thing, right? And so you leave someone in a room and see if someone attacks it, right? And you have a couple people around the corner with some torches just to see, like, if someone, if there's ever a room with two
Mm-hmm.
people in it, in theory, the thing would try to assimilate the other person.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's ways that you could try to trick it as well that just, they're always on the back foot in this movie, so they never get a chance to, which is part of why it's so effective. It's just like constantly moving, it's constantly escalating. But I think if they had a little bit of time, they could have gotten clever with it too.
Oh yeah, yeah. Interesting.
Those are the main things I wanted to say in terms of how I would operate to try to survive this thing. But I also just wanted to spend some time talking about these characters
Yeah.
and the movie at large. I love this picture and getting to see everybody in it because
Oh yeah.
this to me is one of like, I don't even think about it as an ensemble cast movie because I feel so attached to every single character that like they all have a personality that's to me like immediately recognizable and memorable, unlike so many other ensemble movies where it's like, oh yeah, someone has one note and that's sort of it. Like everybody has a lot of depth in this movie, but I wanted to hear your thoughts on it.
No, I think that's right, and I think that's maybe a thing with Carpenter too. Is like all his characters have their own little quirks and are very unique, and like are like the guy who's roller skating. I guess it's Knowles. Like
Yeah.
why is he on roller skates? Like it's like, but it's like it's awesome. It's great. It's like every little character gets their own kind of thing to remember them by.
And it's a great shot too. Like it works with the cinematography of like the rolling camera work through the hallways. It's just like so smooth in such a cool way.
It does. I mean, I have a couple of thoughts on the characters. Maybe this is a good time to just talk about it. Yeah, Knowles, I think is good with it just adds a different element to the cast. But I think like the great performance is Blair. I think
I
Blair,
completely agree.
Wilford Brimley, it just gives an all-time crazy guy performance. Like I can't even think of anything to compare it to. Like him going nuts with that act. It's like the Shining level of like guy going nuts. It's just unbelievable.
It's also just the way he's constantly like, and maybe it's because he's got a little, he's got a little mass on him, but he always looks like he's kind of like leaning back a little bit, and he's kind of using his second chin as like like a shelf for his first chin. He's just kind of like always arms crossed, really analyzing the scene. No, I think Brimley's incredible though. He also looks like he's got to be like 60 something in this, and I think he's like in his late 40s. It's pretty remarkable.
I think I think in every movie he looks like an old guy. That's like kind of the thing with him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a Brimleyism. But to me, there isn't like really a weak link in this cast. Like, I think if you were to say anybody when I'm looking at this, like maybe I would say Norris. Like, but like in a way that he's not like bad at all. It's just he's the one guy who's openly like, I'm not equipped for this. Like he's just like immediately open about acknowledging that this is fucked up and way beyond his control. I think everybody in this lineup is so lights out.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, even like Gary is perfect. Like you need like the guy who's supposed to be in charge, but is like a little bit like weak, and Clark, like just, he's like the first one that you're suspicious of, I think.
I think Clark is great in the movie too.
Oh yeah.
I like his just kind of constant latent aggression. There's like definitely sort of a vibe of like he's the kennel master.
Yeah.
That opening scene of someone being like get the dog out of here. Like he's kind of being told what to do in a way.
Sure.
And you can already see the vibe of like kind of fuck youism between some of the guys. One thing I wanted to call out in here too. I think this movie has such a parallel with Alien, the original. Like part of what makes that movie so effective to me is really like the first 10 minutes of just getting to know the crew is so authentic, and like you learn so much not just about the characters but like their relationships between each other and the power dynamics more than anything. And it makes the rest of the movie totally make sense when people do stupid shit because they're like resentful, or they're just they're pissed off or annoyed, or they look down on somebody and so they they're arrogant about it. Like all those things make more sense with the setup that they do in it. And I think even just like the handful of shots they have in this movie of them hanging out in the rec room, or like how they start to talk when things, they know that something's amiss, but it's not a full on emergency yet.
Yeah.
I just think that there's a lot of parallels between the two.
Well, I mean, probably the most famous example or the easiest one to cite would be like Kurt Russell pouring the whiskey in the computer. Like you kind of get everything you need to know about him from like him losing that game, getting pissed off dumping the whiskey, breaking his computer, then like obviously you can read into the symbolism of it, of like his
Mhm.
mistrust or whatever. But it's also just like a great, like, oh, like that's a wild move. Like he kind of sets the tone for that guy,
For
just
sure.
like you're alone in this Arctic base and he's just going to destroy his computer because he lost, a chess
Yeah, it's
match.
super good. Yeah, it's like the type of guy who would rather us both die than to
Right.
lose sort of situation. Um,
Wait, what do you
Also,
think? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, you go.
What do you think is the best thing performance of the bottom right?
Um, I think that has to be okay. I think first of all, I think this is a misnomer on here. I think both of like the one that says Copper thing and Norris thing, I think those are both Norris.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't remember. Oh, yeah. That's definitely both Norris.
yeah,
Yeah.
because Copper gets his arms bitten off, but that's an example of he doesn't turn. They don't immediately burn his body or anything, despite him being exposed to the parasite.
Isn't he?
Um,
He's like he's gonna about to give him the chest
the
thing, and
paddles,
then and
yeah,
then it opens up and eats his arms off.
which is insane. So I should say, like, what made me want to do this episode in particular was they were just doing a showing of this at the theater next to my work like a
Mm-hmm.
month ago, and so I watched it at the theater and seeing it like that. Like, first of all, the dog scene. It's so early in the movie. I really thought there was going to be like it more drawn out of like, okay, it's in there for a little bit. It freaks out the dogs, but like that's more so foreshadowing than anything. I think that's how most
Yeah,
horror movies would kind of space it out nowadays. But like they don't. They go straight into it. The fucking head falls off is
it's
so
insane.
disgusting.
Yeah,
I like my jaw dropped at that scene and then also Copper getting his arms bitten off
yeah,
and that was why I was like, this is just like a masterpiece. How could we not talk about this movie?
yeah. No, the dog scene's insane. I also forgot how early that happens. Jeez, yeah.
But yeah, probably my favorite of the Alien performance or the Thing performances is the spider one. I love a movie, any movie, but particularly horror, where the characters are competent. Because like similar to what I was talking about earlier, of we take the time to understand the power dynamics and like who these people are as individuals first, and then it makes us relate more when they make decisions down the road. um, when you have characters that make like have critical thinking and like act quickly and communicate with one another, that's like another way for me to relate with them more. And so like the scene where the Norris thing spider is like kind of cartoonishly, like it almost looks like SpongeBob when it's crawling out of the room, which you
Yeah,
could laugh at.
yeah.
But instead of that scene being really frustrating with like how the fuck did they not catch it? Like they immediately catch it. So like the purpose of having it in there isn't, to show it escaping or anything. It's just to show how like tenacious this creature is. But I don't know. I love a movie where the characters are not just blinded by movie bullshit and
Well,
very dumb.
I think another example of that is like how they just torch Bennings. Like they just torch him immediately. And I think Gary is the one who's like, "Oh, I've known Bennings for years," and like everyone else is like, "Dude, no, like it wasn't Bennings." Like it's
Yeah.
just like there's no like debate after that. It's I like that about it too.
There is some good unintentional comedy in this movie though. Like definitely I think the number one is the Norris thing that is trying to skedaddle on its like little legs that clearly would not be
Oh
able to hold
yeah,
it up. But
yeah,
also when Windows gets his head bitten off and it's just clearly like potato sack legs just getting thrown around in the air, it
oh
kills
yeah,
me
yeah,
every time.
yeah. That's funny.
Um,
Wait, also even the opening scene, like when the Norwegians, don't they like? Doesn't he like accidentally like throw a grenade? Like, what does happen? They just blow themselves up.
yeah, he goes to throw a grenade and he drops it in the pile of grenades and it blows up the helicopter that they're in.
And the other guy just opens fire on like the whole crowd of people, because he's
Well,
trying to kill the dog.
one of the two Norwegians is John Carpenter too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know which one he plays, but yeah, he's one of the two of
You,
them.
you know what's cool about the prequel is like it stops right, like the prequel ends right where then this one picks up. Like it's like that those Norwegians getting away, getting in the helicopter, chasing the dog, and then you go right into this movie.
Oh,
Like it's
rad.
pretty cool. I really liked it.
There's also some interesting production history we could talk about a bit
Sure.
on this. So let me pull this up. Okay, so the set, for instance, so they built essentially like the outpost on the border between Canada and British Columbia,
Mm.
British Columbia and Alaska, but it was on the Canada side. And they built it during the summer, and then they just had to leave. They built it while they could, and then they came back once it was wintertime, and like the entire thing was frozen in essentially. And while they were there, it regularly was negative 20 degrees or lower, so the actors were actually pretty freezing in pretty much every single shot. The helicopter shots they have were in Juneau, Alaska, and then all of the interior though was filmed on a soundstage in LA at Universal Studios.
Oh, okay.
But they called it the fridge because they had it so cold in there that you could still see your breath. So they're still like
Jeez.
the entire time it was just miserable to film this thing.
Jeez.
But at least they were in Los Angeles rather than Canada.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then they shot it primarily in order. So that way they actually blew up the outpost at the end of the movie.
Oh wow.
Another movie I wanted to comp this to is The Lighthouse. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
We talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's another example of like power dynamics, cabin fever, untrustworthy narrators is a big part of this movie. There's a lot of ambiguity of what happens at the end of The Lighthouse, and as well as this one. So I think that would be a good pairing with this. And then really the last thing I want to touch on is I saw this in theaters recently, and I had seen it years ago prior as well. But when I was doing a little bit of prep work for this call, I was trying to just have it in the background and just like kind of write an outline of notes as things were happening. And I realized just how much you really can't just listen to this movie. Like you have to be watching it at all times because it has so many purely visual cues to it. And there's so many scenes, especially in the beginning, where it's from the dog's point of view, where it's just quiet. And you're really just seeing like shots of panning across the encampment. There's no music. There's no dialogue whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Which in a lot of ways, I think it's just such a brave move as a filmmaker. Anytime you're allowing for silence in your movie, you're kind of opening the door to people being bored. And so you really do have to trust that people actually give a shit about what they're watching. And, in some ways, I wonder if that could have contributed at the time to people being like, well, I don't know if it's like, it's not sensory overload for the first third of the movie. But I think, once you realize this movie for like how impactful and incredible it is, and obviously now it's got this like cult status, people are more than willing to do that. But I just always think it's really cool and really brave when a filmmaker will do something like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I got a couple of notes for you too. I mean, I really like this movie. Like, it's probably as much as I could like body horror, and I think it's just because like the practical effects are really really great, and they're not like too much for me. Like, I honestly think I have a harder time watching the CGI. Like, I was a little more grossed out by the 2011. Like, believe it or not, even though like the effects aren't as I don't like when it looks too realistic. Like, I like that it like some of these effects you could tell it's like very practical, So yeah, this is like about as high as I can go on body horror. I really like this movie. I'd actually even say it's in a top 10 horror for me. So I wanted to see where you think it'd place for you. But
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a chance to think about it, because a couple other things I think are great about this movie is the music. It's really simple. It's just pretty much just bass music. It's Ennio Morricone, who's obviously a legend, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But yeah, not Carpenter in this one. He does a lot of his music, but not this one. But yeah, I do think it's just really simple and just really, really good, really fun to listen to.
Just their single repeating note over and again.
It's just, and it kind of keeps the Carpenter simplicity, which even Halloween is like very simple, even though it's become like kind of iconic. It was just a pretty simple piano melody. But yeah, I really like that. I remember when I first saw it, I thought that it was ridiculous that like that computer could spit out all those statistics, how he's like typing it in. But now I'm like, wait, that's kind of like ChatGPT. Like, you can kind of like get it to do like some higher level analysis of like what would like how fast this would destroy the whole world population or whatever. So it's like, yeah, they weren't so far off, I guess.
Yeah, it's not like. Yeah, it's not cartoonish. I mean, it's a little cartoonish, but it's not like as cartoonish as certainly it was at the time. I'm glad you bring up Halloween though, because like I mean, I would say of the two, Halloween is probably the more famous. I mean, it's obviously gone on to have 6, 7 movies at this point. I know you're the expert on it, so I'll let you correct me.
I think it's like 13 or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I forgot already.
But like this to me, and it comes 4 years later. I think this is like one of the greatest, not even just like horror movies. I think it's just like one of the greatest movies of all time. In terms of like the writing, the cinematography, the music. Like I think the performances within it, even the special effects within it, are so tremendous. So to me, like this is an across the board improvement for Carpenter. I'm curious what you think though, as someone like that's like a pretty diehard Halloween guy.
Yeah, I know it's tough. I actually going into this was like, this is gonna be like, I was like, the real test. Like the other reason for me to want to rewatch this was to see if I feel like it's better than Halloween, honestly, because I had that Carpenter list. I mean, Letterboxd thinks this one's better. A lot of people think this is better. But you know, at the end of it, I still felt that like Halloween, I'd rather rewatch again. I really like this movie. I think you're right that it's much like it's a lot better made. Obviously, the effects are a lot better. The performances are probably better. But I still think Halloween and like what it did to the slasher genre,
Mm-hmm.
um, it makes it like better to me for some reason. So yeah, that was a big like I wanted to figure that out, and I felt pretty comfortable about it after watching this. Is like this is to me Carpenter's second best movie. It's in a top 10 horror list. Like I could pull up my top 10 horror list, but I think I have it probably number 5 or 6, right after wherever I have Halloween. But yeah, that's kind of how I landed. That's where I landed with it.
How do you what is your letter, like we always preface this, so it's hilarious that we keep asking, but
Yeah.
what is your score for this and what is your score for Halloween? Because I want to say, like, does this have a higher score for you, but you still just like Halloween more?
See, I could never do that, right? If there's something higher on a list, it has to have the equal or a higher score. Like everything ties out. I'll challenge you to go through my letterbox and find a list that doesn't match up with, like it even crosses between lists. You know, like if something on my AFI list is lower than something on the horror, like
Mm-hmm.
none of that can happen. This is what keeps me up at night. So no, no, they're
So
both like
Halloween's a 5-star movie for you.
they're both 4.5s to me.
Okay.
This is both of them are 4.5s of the heart, and I have Halloween a bit higher because it's higher on the list.
Okay. Fair. I will say, so the first time I saw this movie, actually I was living in Chicago and it was the winter time,
Oh
so
yeah,
it was not too far off from being in the Antarctic region. But although I will say it wasn't even snowing, it didn't even have the dignity to be like a white snowy winter. It was just slush. It was disgusting.
yeah.
But I liked it. But I was like, yeah, no, it was good. But like, I think that some of the pacing, I wasn't just able to latch on as much as I wanted, and I didn't watch it in the best headspace. Um, Having seen it though at the theater recently, like that was one of the best theater viewing experiences I think I've ever had. And then I think just because I had that good of a viewing recently, like when I watched it again last week, I was like, no, this is just, I don't know. I like could see this being like a movie I watch kind of perennially for the rest of my life, because I think something that it does that's super effective at making it rewatchable. Like, is it as fun as Halloween? Well, I wasn't a huge fan of Halloween,
Yeah,
but is
yeah,
it
yeah.
is it as fun as like a casual horror? In some ways, no, right? Because it really does force you to watch it. Like I said, right? Like you can't really just like do stuff in the background. It's a bit of a commitment. But on the flip side, I think part of what makes it so interesting is like, yes, we have like if we looked at this movie or the story of it as like almost like a function, like we have the inputs and we have the outputs, right? Like we know how the movie ends and we know who ends up being converted, like a lot of them at least.
Hmm.
But there's so much ambiguity on the way to that path that like even if you've seen this movie 10 times, you don't know who got converted when always.
Well, even at the end, do you know at the end that either Childs or
Mm-hmm.
McReady is human? Like I was gonna ask you that actually. Like I think they both. I feel like they're both human. I think it's left intentionally ambiguous because that makes it more interesting to think about. Like, oh, maybe this thing is still out there or is gonna, go on and kill other people. But what do you think? Do you feel like they're both things, both humans, or a combination? Because Childs does go away for a while. It is a little suspicious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that McCready is human, and I think that Childs is a thing, a human thing.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, it could be either, but yeah, I think the fact that Childs runs out when he does, like he kind of breaks the rule. Who would choose to go out in that storm? Also, he leaves right when um, Blair, shows up and is fucking things up. So I think that Childs is, but it's unclear. Also, there's
Well,
like a thing about like the jacket he's wearing is the jacket that was on the wall next to him, meaning when he got converted, maybe his jacket got destroyed, and so he put that one on instead.
hmm.
But that's
What
some
is
like real behind the scenes bullshit. You
what
have to be doing some research to see that.
what does Child say though? He's like, "Oh, I thought I saw Blair or something," and he like that's why that. What was his excuse for
I
walking
think
away?
that's
Something
what it
like
was.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I tried to get him. I mean, you could sort of make the argument off of some of the information in this presentation we went over today, actually, that like if he is intelligent and presumably the thing knows how to make a spaceship, why couldn't it make a space heater if it had access to the right technology? Like,
Sure.
yeah, the camp is pretty blown up, but like, why would the thing not at least attempt to create a space heater rather than just sit next to McCready and die?
Yeah.
Unless, I mean, then it might just be because he knows that, or it knows that McCready's about to freeze to death. He'll consume him and then make the fire. So
Yeah.
we just don't know these things, John. And it's part of why this movie's better than Halloween, objectively.
Well, I think a lot of people agree with you. I mean, obviously by the Letterboxd score, a lot of people agree with that, and I think like technically it probably is, but for me, I would put Halloween higher still. Now, I was gonna bring up one more thing. I think also the fact, and I guess Halloween ends this way too with Michael disappearing, but I remember reading that like part of the reason this bombed also is because of that ambiguity at the end and like why like and it's just what does well at the box office or wins best picture whatever is so dependent on like what the vibe is in the culture right now, and people just weren't in the mid 80s interested or in the early 80s interested in like a kind of depressing or like ambiguous or
Mm-hmm.
an ending like that. They wanted a happy alien story, and they got ET where he rides off, towards the moon on his bike or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, this is certainly a movie where it's like a sad ending or a horrific ending are like the only options because, they're dying there no matter what.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a question of if any of the things survived. Um, all right, well, cool. That was really all I wanted to go over today. I'll wrap it up from my end by just saying, to me, this is a 5-star movie. I think, again, like for me, when I'm rating a movie, or really like any piece of art, like to me, the context of where it was created matters so much because it's also like what were they able to achieve with the tools that they had at that time and the constraints that they had at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and just the special effects in this are so remarkable. Like I went through the list earlier, but like I find the script effective, I find the pacing effective, I find the story novel and like utterly unique. I love the music, I love the cinematography of like the shots of the helicopters, the shots through the outposts. Like I just said it a second ago with like the pacing, but like I love that we get the opportunity to go to the other base and like understand a little bit and see
Yeah.
that foreshadowing of like this just ripped through this place literally, to the point where people are just electing to kill themselves to stay away from it. I just think it's so fascinating. So yeah, it's a 5-star masterpiece to me. I don't know where I would say it falls in my all-time horror ranking, just because I haven't taken the time to really think about it. But I would guess top 5, like off the top of my head. I'm thinking of like Hereditary, The Witch, the first The Conjuring was just like what got me into horror in the first
Yeah.
place. So I kind of can't not. That's at least the top 10 for me. But yeah, I think this is such an unbelievable movie.
Yeah. I will say you should watch the prequel. It gets ripped on. Like the Letterbox hates it, the 2011 one, but I think you really get to see that base, and it's really cool to see all the ties. Like, oh, that's oh, that's how that like big combined monster gets made. Like the whole like merged face guy.
Oh, cool.
Like they do all that stuff, and I think you would just really enjoy it. And I think people rip on it because it's like, oh, look, CGI is so bad. Like practical.
They're trying
effects.
to touch this thing that I really love. Like fuck them. Like they're arrogant for even attempting to do so.
And I think exactly. And I think the fact that there's been no remakes is like a testament to how like untouchable this movie is. And really the only thing you could do is try to tell that prequel story. And I think it's fine. It's good. It's entertaining. So I don't know why there's so much hate around that. And then in terms of the top 10 question, like This is I just checked my list. It's number 7 on mine, so I do really like it. I
Okay.
got Texas Chainsaw number 1, Jaws, Exorcist, Alien, Halloween, Shining, and then The Thing. So that's a pretty good class. The big gap in my horror is like the 2011, like the stuff that you just mentioned. Honestly, The Conjuring, Hereditary.
Mhm.
I cannot watch any of that. So this is more my speed.
It's
I don't
gotten
know if
too scary.
It's gotten too scary. I think we should put a stop to that. It's getting too scary. But yeah, I really like this movie. I was glad to rewatch it. And I'm glad, you sent me this PDF, man, because now I got a good survival guide too, in case I ever get trapped in the Arctic.
Also, just got to call out just you bringing up the amalgamation monster that shows up that they later do the autopsy for, but just the entire scene of Blair just going, just grunting as he cuts into this thing. Also, he's just wearing like the flimsiest gloves. Like, presumably this could just get cut on anything. And he's also up to his eyeballs inside of this creature's cavity, and he's got just gloves to his like little wrists. It's absolutely so disgusting.
Yeah,
but it's also hilarious that he's just grunting through the whole thing, like no face mask, nothing at all.
They are surprisingly gung-ho about things. Like, they're like, oh, look at that merged, deformated deformation. Let's bring it back to the base. Like I just would never.
Yeah, but I love that they're quick to be like, there's no character on here. There's no like, well, I'm a young and arrogant corporate executive that's looking to make a big buck and like make my name at the corporation. Like, no one's like, what about science? Like, we should save some of this. Everyone immediately is like, we're burning it all right now. Like, it's purely everyone's on the level, which it just bums me out how rare that is in a movie.
Well, you're gonna hate the 2011 one then, because that's like the entire plot.
Yeah. Well,
it's like there's the young female archaeologist and the old guy who's like wants to put everyone's lives at risk for science. Like, it's like that whole thing. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's like 99% of the Alien franchise as well.
Yeah,
but like they make up for it another way, so that can exist. All right, this was a good one, John. We'll have to figure out what movie we do next for this.
I thoroughly enjoyed this. You totally. I did not expect this. I see the other ways you could do the presentation. I thought that was pretty clever. I enjoyed that.
What would have been good is if I had made like a choose your own adventure style. If I had like a spare 30 hours to like make slides to click through.
Yeah. That would have been interesting.
In another life. Well, as always, thank you everyone for listening. John, any closing thoughts you want to add?
No, I think we got it. I think we nailed it.
I think we're good. Well, yeah, we'll of course be uploading sometime soon. And as always, we make the dedication that if you do comment any movie to watch, we will watch it. So so far we're batting 1,000 at that, and we're gonna stick to that for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, young directors in the comments. You want your movie to be seen. This is the podcast. We will talk about. Guys. Yeah, we will talk about anything.
Yes, agreed. Our time is essentially meaningless. All right, John, this is a pleasure as always. And, I hope this helps you out when you're at your next infection in Antarctica.
Yeah, I appreciate this, man. Thank you.
All right. Bye.